It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome back to another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That means that's Alan Saunders. Alan, how we doing?
Doing great, man. Got a pretty low-key day, rainy day, just chilled. The dog was like, I forgot who you were, bro. Like, what is, you just stay here all day now? You think you can just, this is my couch now. Like, what? So, yeah. That was fun. Yeah.
Like I mentioned yesterday, we were not going to have the great backdrops as we were having there at St. Vincent College anymore. But you mentioned this on the morning rush. I guess I wasn't really thinking about it. Like, the weather was so impactful the first couple days of training camp, and then just not at all a factor whatsoever. Absolutely no rain after those few days up until today. So it waited until they got out of there. I guess Mother Nature felt bad about the way the first couple days went. So it just stayed out of the equation there for the rest of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice.
Also very hot. But what's I feel so old saying it, but I think we needed a good rain. I almost sound like my dad saying it. But
when you say that, you just got to lean back, put your hands in your pockets, give a big sigh. We really needed this.
Yeah, I'm going to throw on my overalls. But anyways, all right, good to be back. Great conversation coming up for you guys, as always. A lot of people want to talk about the wide receivers, so certainly going to talk about them. I actually have a bit of a Cory Trice question. A couple people mentioned Cory Trice, but I want to start with Cam Heyward, who we talked about. We're going to talk about, I guess, at least a little bit, probably on every single episode. People are going to have questions about him, and new information, I guess, is going to come in here and there. What is the latest update, if you will, Alan, if anything, that can be shared in terms of the Cam Heyward contract situation? Is there any new information that's out there?
No, I mean, not really. I mean, Adam Schefter said that things are kind of at a standstill. It doesn't seem like the Steelers really want to do this. I don't know if that means they're not going to, or if it just means, look, the Steelers have the money. They do not appear to have any other way to spend it. It does make some sense for the Steelers to not make a move until right before the start of the regular season, because what if someone does become available unexpectedly? What if Washington does the unthinkable and makes Terry McLaurin available? They want to be able to have the flexibility to do that. We talked about the same thing when they were waiting for TJ Watt. It's like there's always an incentive for the team to wait. But sure. They also don't want to just, the second somebody asks for more money, be like, yeah, sure, here you go. Like, even if they're sort of amenable to doing it, they have an incentive to make this process as uncomfortable as possible for Cam as well, right? Which means make him sweat it out as long as they can. And so there's not really, the Steelers are the only ones that can do anything here. Cam doesn't really have any more buttons to push. So ball's kind of in Omar's court, and I expect him to take his time returning it. I do think eventually they're going to do something. There's plenty of middle ground here where they can throw him a couple million, pull it up from next year's or whatever, and make it, make it pretty easy on everybody. But we'll see what they decide to do. But yeah, no real hard news updates in terms. The one thing we haven't heard that I think, I understand why we haven't, but I don't exactly know what Cam Heyward's asking for. And I think that's probably a part of the reaction that we saw from some people, that he's not, I don't get the sense that he's asking for $30 million or a new contract or something like that. I think this is a pretty reasonable ask here in terms of the total, but I haven't gotten a number at this point. So, yeah. Yeah, if I was Cam Heyward, I would just tell people, well, I'd definitely be willing to play for 20. Then I think you look at it, you're like, oh, that's reasonable, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's also, you mentioned the reaction from the fans, and it's been vastly different, at least from my perspective, and I'm sure yours, very plugged in online as well, to the Chris Boswell stuff, who was also looking for more money this year, and I think that the fans have been much more accepting of that. I don't know if it's just because we are further removed from when he signed his last contract as opposed to Cam Heyward, or what exactly the situation is. Maybe just feeling like, okay, he's a kicker, so like there's not the same threat of his game just completely falling off like Cam Heyward's is in their eyes due to age. But what do you make of that? Just basically the conversation being vastly different for two people that are both looking for pay raises this year.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, they're in identical situations. 2 years left on their contract, no more guaranteed money, underpaid for their value. They're in exactly the same situation. And I think the Steelers are going to have to acknowledge that. And I think they're going to have. Now, I will say the one big difference is I can see the Steelers wanting to do a longer-term deal with Boswell and say, okay, tear this contract up. Let's add 2 more years, which would keep him in Pittsburgh until his age 37 season, and give you a new signing bonus, and there we go. Like that to me seems plausible. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen with Cam Heyward.
Yeah. God, Chris is getting so old. Like, that just sounded crazy. You know, at that point, he'd be 37.
Kickers can be good kickers for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
I'm not saying to not do it. I'm just thinking, my goodness, I can't believe already that we're talking about how old Chris Boswell is. But
Vinatieri kicked until he was almost 50, right?
I don't know.
47 years old. Adam Vinatieri was.
Oh, wow. Okay, I was gonna guess the other side of 40, like 44. Jeez. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean,
who knows?
It was a first team All Pro at 42. Now, Adam Vinatieri is probably the best kicker of all time, so I don't know if that's everybody's comp, but not unreal. 37 is no stretch for the Steelers to pay Boswell that long.
Absolutely. And both those guys that we just mentioned, part of the unction, if you will, that is taking place with the Pittsburgh Steelers, as we like to call it. You mentioned right to me right before we started recording about, like, you know, some of the receiver stuff that's floating out there. We get comments, questions every single day that obviously involve that position, but it seems like there's like some OBJ stuff out there now. He was on the Bill Maher podcast, which it's just odd that he was making a podcast appearance on there. And this got brought up talking about his relationship with Aaron Rodgers. And then he said, well, what about going to play with Pittsburgh? He didn't immediately shoot it down. As a matter of fact, mentioned that he thought at one point that's where he was going to be drafted to, was the Pittsburgh Steelers. OBJ released by the Dolphins going back in season last December. Then nothing came of it. He hasn't played yet. There was some fake stuff out there about him retiring. That didn't happen. He said he wants to continue to play. Should this be a conversation taking place for the Pittsburgh Steelers if OBJ is worth bringing in?
No. I mean, I can't. Like, I guess you could bring him in, take a look, but like, he was released in December. Every NFL team has had 9 months to kick the tires on this guy, and nobody's wanted to. Like, I know the Steelers are desperate, but they're not that desperate. I mean, gosh, I don't know.
I think we made more of a case for it last year,
right? And also, like, just the fact that he was released by the Dolphins last year in the middle of the year, like, what? Played 9 games and had 9 catches. Like, I don't know. I have a hard time seeing that be a good idea.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there's going to be better players cut from rosters on cutdown day than what OBJ would bring to the table at this point in his career. So I understand, you know, the name value that he brings and everything like that. And again, like, there was a point last year where maybe he was better than some options that were out there in my mind, at least. But I don't think that we're at that point anymore. So yeah, certainly not something that I would be considering. I don't even know what the scenario would have to be, because like I said, there's going to be better players available for free. Like, not even talking about guys that you could acquire via trade. I just think there's going to be better players that don't make 53-man rosters.
I agree. OBJ taken 3 picks before Ryan Shazier.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Steelers would have taken him if he was there. That's an interesting thought.
He made it seem like that was kind of the way it was relayed to him. Like, he, in the meeting that he had with the Steelers, he felt like that was where he was going to end up being. And then the Giants took him at 12.
Yeah.
So, and Aaron Donald was the pick right before Shazier, I believe.
He was in between those two, yeah. It was
yeah.
like 15 or 16, one of those. And the Steelers ended up drafting Martavis Bryant later in that draft class, which worked out really well for a round pick.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
No, I mean, obviously, all hindsight with Shazier's career, you'd clearly rather have OBJ. But if Shazier had panned out, it hadn't gotten hurt, I think the Steelers would have been happy with that pick, even though OBJ became the guy he became.
OBJ aside, anything out, because it seems like there's just like this smoke out there right now, and Kabali's good at doing this stuff, like drumming up interest, whether it's related to the Steelers or not. He'll just like post yeet, and people are like, okay, oh wait, this is related to Steelers. Oh no, Monday Night Raw's on, something like that. Who knows what he's talking about? Anything that you can speak to in terms of, is there still the idea out there? I think that the idea is out there that this team wants to add a receiver, but that they're going to add a receiver.
I don't know. I mean, there's talk about some free agents. Heard somebody talking about Amari Cooper today. I don't know, man. Where's Amari Cooper at in this hierarchy that we're talking about here?
None.
I don't want any of them. None. There's no free agent wide receiver other than maybe Gabe Davis that helps this team. And Gabe Davis isn't healthy. If Gabe Davis can come in and pass a physical, okay. None of the rest of the free agents are worth signing. They are not better outside options than what they have now. Maybe OBJ is, I don't know. It's still not worth it. Like, it would be such a minuscule upgrade that I'd still just rather go see what Roman Wilson can do, even if he can't do it. They got to make a trade or find a cut. Like, those are the paths here. These guys that have been sitting on free agency for a year, I don't have any interest in them.
My mind went to Amari Cooper, and this isn't me necessarily like pushing for that to be the case. That's just where my mind went to in terms of what I feel like could be like where there's smoke, there's fire. That's the one name that came to mind for me right away. I know that we've talked a lot about Gabe Davis. It just seems like, that knee is precluding him from not just the Steelers, like anybody. I mean, there were multiple teams that wanted to look at him, and nothing's come of it. So I don't know. My mind goes to Amari Cooper, and again, that's not me saying I want them to or think that they should. Who are we talking about pushing off of the roster that's currently on? Like, that's going to happen. We know it's going to be DK, Calvin. Roman's going to be on the roster, regardless of if his role changes by an outside addition. Ben Skoronek's going to be on the roster on a 2-year deal. Scotty Miller? Or you keep 6 and Scotty Miller's on still? I don't know.
I mean, is OBJ better than Scotty Miller right now? Probably outside, yeah, but like, man, I don't know.
But also, who's the other? If you're taking Scotty Miller off the roster, who's contributing on special teams now that wasn't before? Like, do they have another gunner to go with James Pierre?
Maybe Roman. I don't know. Skoronek's a gunner for sure.
Okay.
And I think Pierre's going to make the team, so I feel like okay about those two as the gunners. But yeah, I think it's got to be. I think it's got to be some kind of external addition. I don't see not a free agent, a trade, or somebody who's been cut.
Not only not feeling that great, obviously, about what's just out there on the free agent market at this point, but we've talked a little bit about the UDFA guys on this roster. Like, do you feel better about them at this point in their young careers as opposed to those outside additions as well? And even a guy that we haven't talked enough about on here, according to somebody in the community, Brandon Johnson, I'll even bring up, who came in last year, and I was actually not like excited about necessarily, but like I was certainly intrigued by the work that he did with Russell Wilson in Denver. Was somewhat productive there and was curious as to what he looked like. And I don't think he's like an absolute nothing. Would like to see him compete. But yeah, I mean, is it just, do you actually like the guys on the roster currently even further down than some of those free agent additions?
I really like Brandon Johnson. I think he's a good player. I thought they really screwed up by not giving him a bigger shot last year. I'm just operating under the assumption that if they played a game where they started Ben Skoranek and Brandon Johnson couldn't get very much playing time, that they're just never going to give him a chance. Like, I mean, that was it, right? I mean, George is out. Ben Skoranek's in the starting lineup. Like, come on. Like, Brandon Johnson could get some run there, and he really didn't. So, like, now that Roman's healthy, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't feel to me like that. I don't want to say I've written him off because I still think he's a good player. It just feels to me like the Steelers have, right? Like that's kind of the vibe,
which is kind of odd. Like, man, when you have like this, to me, should have been basically like a completely open like everybody should have been getting basically the same opportunity. When you have this type of wide receiver room where you're just searching for anybody to step up. And I understand, like, maybe that's Scotty Miller that's done that this year. Who
I think Scotty Miller has done that. I felt like the Steelers had kind of gotten away from Scotty too, and I think he's to a different. If Brandon Johnson had the training camp Scotty Miller had, would be talking about him like he was on the roster. So I mean, I do think there's some of that's true. Also, I don't think he's been bad, but he hasn't been like eye-openingly good either.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I feel like Scotty Miller and him were kind of in the same spot coming into training camp, honestly, where it's like guys that didn't have on the 53 were kind of just off and probably ahead of the undrafted guys. I still think I would probably put Brandon Johnson ahead of the undrafted guys right now, but I'm not sure the Steelers will. And like, there's a different, when you're talking about stashing a guy in a practice squad, you're trying to keep a guy that you think might turn into something. I think Brandon Johnson's a better player right now. I'm a little skeptical of like the idea that he's this guy that's going to turn into something significantly greater in the future, compared to like a couple of rookies who, clearly have sort of some runway ahead of them. There's a little more upside to those guys, I would say, at this point. But Brandon Johnson's been good. He had a couple nice catches in camp. Like, he's been fine. I don't really know where he fits. Like, I don't think he makes the 53 under almost any circumstances right now. And I think they would rather keep the young guys on the practice squad.
Actions speak louder than words, and we know that this team has continued to actively look for help at the wide receiver position, despite Omar Khan saying he still feels really good about that position group and everything like that. But I don't even know if this is
worth to hear if you're on the Pittsburgh Steelers is Omar Khan saying he feels good about your position group or you specifically. Like, if Omar Khan's on the radio talking about you in positive vibes, you're a Steelers player. You should start packing up because, like, it's over for you. It's done.
Yep. Download Zillow, see what's going on.
Yeah.
It might not know exactly the destination you got to punch in yet.
Start texting your agent now.
Yeah. But the only thing I was going to bring up there, and I guess kind of pointless to bring up, based off the conversation that we've had, I know the answer to this, but just for the sake of asking, has anybody, because of what we've talked about, like with the Scotty Millers of the world and what they've done in training camp at the preseason, changed what you think this team needs in that wide receiver group? Or no, they certainly still need an outside addition, probably somebody that can play on the outside.
If anything, it has cemented to me that they have three guys now, if you want to lump Scotty Miller in there, and how good Roman has been when he's been in the slot. They have three. Like, that's to me why Amari Cooper is so useless, because like you got to play him in the slot, and now they have three guys that are kind of proving that they can do that, and nothing on the outside. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just, if anything, it's intensified what I already thought about the situation.
Gotcha. Okay. We've talked a lot about Cory Trice as well, who we're still waiting to get back on the field. In the meantime, James Pierre has been getting a lot of run, obviously, with the other corner injuries that were taking place, like more like Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, obviously missing some time. Joey Porter Jr. missed time as well. So James Pierre's gotten a lot of run here. Got a question here. Do you think that there's a world where, James Pierre ends up playing ahead of Cory Trice maybe as a boundary option, but that both could make the roster? Do they view Cory Trice as a guy that could be like the dime backer for this team? Is there a world where they both are on the roster in your eyes?
The only way I can see that is if we see a lot of Brandon Echols in the slot over the next 2 preseason games and they cut Beanie Bishop.
Okay.
Then I could see them keeping Trice as like a pure just stash him on the roster. They think Bishop will be easier to get through waivers than Trice at that point. But he would like never get a helmet unless somebody got hurt.
Yeah.
Because Pierre's going to play. Like he's going to be the starting punt gunner. He's going to have a helmet every game. The other thing I can see is starting the season with Cory Trice on the injured reserve. Because he has been banged up, has not returned to practice now with 8 days until the final preseason game. Feels like there's almost zero chance of him playing in the preseason. Even though Mike Tomlin says everyone's day-to-day. I don't know how you can be day-to-day if you haven't practiced in 2 weeks. There's 8 days to the next preseason game with 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 practices between now and then. To me, there's no way Calvin Austin plays in the preseason. There's no way Alex Highsmith plays in the preseason. There's no way Calvin Anderson plays in the preseason. There's no way Cory Trice plays in the preseason. I can't fathom how they can get there from here. Maybe Highsmith, I guess, just because he has at least been working. But what do you need to see from Alex Highsmith? I think he probably could if he was a player that you wanted to look at in a situation maybe more similar to Cory Trice. But what do you need to see anything from Alex Highsmith? So, I mean,
do you think we've talked about how this never happens, but Calvin Anderson signed a 2-year deal. Is there any world where he's not on the roster based off what Dylan Cook showed? And then I'm also going out and making an outside addition in the Andrus Pete.
I mean, Andrus Pete just got here, and I hate to judge a guy on his first day in the door, but I haven't been impressed so far. And they don't seem to be impressed so far. I mean, he's playing on the 3rd team. So, I wouldn't include him in your future plans necessarily just because he's a name. I think Dylan Cook has made the team. And I did not have him on the 53 at the start of training camp. I'll be interested to see what happens with Calvin Anderson, another guy that could start the season on the IR. Could, in theory, leave him there until they need him. You know what I mean? Put him on the IR, give him the return designation, and dress Dylan Cook as your game day backup. And if nobody gets hurt throughout the course of the season, maybe Spencer Anderson just stays on IR. That's plausible. Just very similar to what they did with Roman Wilson, Cole Holcomb last year, where at the end of the year, those guys were ready to go if they needed them. They just never needed them. So they were just hanging out, waiting. So that's possible. And if they did that, I would think they would add some type of other kind of, although I'll tell you what, Stephen Jones has looked all right, man. I mean, if there's
when you said about Pete playing with the 3rd team, I was wondering, okay, is there another tackle then that we're missing? Maybe
Stephen Jones. Yeah, he's been pretty good. I mean, he's played all 4 positions inside of center. He's been good at all of them. I would definitely have Stephen Jones ahead of Pete right now. I might have Stephen Jones ahead of Sharping, honestly. But I think if Calvin Anderson's on the team, that's the line. It would be McCollum, Anderson, Cook as the 4 backups, 9 offensive linemen, Jones, Sharping.
Do you think, and I don't know that you had.
McCollum's got to get healthy too.
Sure. Yeah, I was going to ask. Well, so kind of 2 questions based off that. Do you think Sharping hurt his case at all based off the snap issues that he was having in that preseason game? Whether it's because, okay, they're looking at if McCollum's not ready to go, we don't feel confident enough about this guy as a backup center. We would need to get somebody that at least could do that, or if there's somebody else on the roster, maybe, I don't know. But then if Sharping's not going to have that versatility, is he going to be on the roster? Maybe you didn't have him as somebody that you thought was going to be on the 53 anyway.
I had him start camp on the 53. I had him off mid-camp. Okay. I think he had an opportunity to say, hey, you guys brought me here to play guard, but I can do this too, and you don't really need Ryan McCollum. They certainly did not say that, with the snapping issues. I think the Steelers will want to keep McCollum on the team as a backup center. And he can play guard, but I think he's more of a pure backup center, especially considering the way he played there last year. Sharping is fine as backup guard. I didn't think he looked great at center, but I think Spencer Anderson has looked really good. And there's not, and the fact that Jones has the versatility guard tackle.
Yeah,
I have a hard time seeing how Sharping makes it to the 53, although I've been wrong before, and maybe I will be there. They love having him around. He's a really good vet for the room, so maybe they can get him to the practice squad. But yeah, I think they're thin at tackle with Calvin Anderson hurt, especially. I feel better about the interior if McCollum can get healthy. Spencer Anderson, we got a question about somebody saying, should they just start Spencer Anderson over Isaac Seumalo?
From Robert Kelly here.
Yeah. Love the show, guys. Do you think it would be better for them to start Spencer Anderson for Isaac, knowing he could be the future, and he's also been practicing this whole time with the starters, creating chemistry together? No, I think they start Isaac Seumalo, but I do think there's a real chance that that's just Spencer Anderson's job in 2026. I think he's put himself in position to claim that as his at this point. But you're not going to pay.
Start the season there last year, and yeah.
The way he ended the season so much better than the way he started it, I think, was a really, really good thing for Spencer Anderson. And we'll see. I'm not sure he's ever going to be an all-pro, but I think he can be a solid starter. And given what they've invested in terms of draft capital and the rest of the offensive line, not to suggest that, he needs this, but I think very similar to you have Ben Roethlisberger. You don't need to spend first-round picks on wide receivers. If you have 2 first-round tackles and a second-round center, you should be able to get by with just at least one of your guard spots. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and maybe it's just investing another Mason McCormick type pick and having that guy battle with Spencer Anderson for that one spot.
Sure. Yeah. Go draft somebody, day 3 and let them go at it. Absolutely, but. I could see Anderson winning for sure. Yeah.
We appreciate the question there, of course, Robert. And Seumalo, by the way, notorious slow starter out of the gate. So whether it's been injury or whatever, he typically, but then once he gets going, obviously has been a very good guard in this league. Definitely want to make sure we get to this one from Chuck before we get out of here as well. Tweeted this at us. How much opportunity? I'm assuming this comes off the back of Jalen Ramsey's conversation on the pivot, talked about how the trade went down to the Steelers.
What an interview, by the way. I got to listen to that today.
Yeah.
Man, if you guys didn't watch that, go watch it. It's great.
Yeah.
Great.
Absolutely. I love when those guys get up to Steelers training camp because I just know we're going to get consecutive days of episodes. Obviously, Tom was on there and then Jalen Ramsey. I don't know if they did anymore, but we'll see. How much opportunity do teams have to talk to a player before trading for them, if at all? At what point during that trade process are they allowed to communicate and for how long, or is there no limit to any of it? Could be a good pod topic, says Chuck here.
All right, Chuck. Yeah. So it all depends on the situation. The trading team has to grant permission for the player to talk to the new team. So if you're, Andrew Berry and I'm Omar Khan, and I call you and say, hey, I want to trade for whoever, David Njoku, just because Steelers need another tight end. You and I would have a conversation. At some point, I would have to ask your permission to talk to Njoku. Usually, that permission would only be granted if that player is going to need a new contract as part of that trade. So, with Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, Minkah Fitzpatrick, the Steelers, in acquiring Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey, had to rework their contracts. And so they wanted to know what the layout was going to have to be, what the ask is going to have to be. And so they did talk to those players ahead of time. Same thing with DK Metcalf. That trade, the contract was agreed to before the trade was agreed to. But not always. Like the Steelers, trading George Pickens to the Cowboys, I don't get the sense that the Cowboys talked to George Pickens before that trade. And the Steelers always have the right to say no if they ask. So think it just depends. It's a case-by-case thing. But once that permission is granted, they can kind of talk as much as they need to. It's usually, you're not going to bring a guy in. It's just all going to be on the phone, and usually, more often than not, just with the agent. But, yeah, a lot of these deals that involve a contract, they're going to involve some kind of communication between the acquiring team and the player.
So, I mean, not that I have much to add here, and I'm kind of like, I don't want to say like oblivious to the process or anything like that, but I don't know that I can add much more insight. But like, I was wondering if you've ever heard specifically of a case where like pretty much everything about a trade had been agreed to. However, the one team wanted to talk to a player, the team said no. So then that just like completely makes the deal.
Yeah. I mean, not usually, like, because usually a player being traded who needs a new contract is being traded because the old team doesn't want to give him the new contract. But there are times where, like, if keeping that player is a real option for the team, okay, let's say right now, all right, somebody called the Steelers and be like, hey, do you want Cam Heyward? Would love to trade for Cam Heyward, okay? Cam obviously looking for a new contract. If the Steelers think keeping Cam Heyward is a real possibility, that's something they might really want to do, they may not want to let Cam Heyward find out what another team would be willing to pay for. They may say, no, you can't talk to him because we don't want him to know that the Raiders would give him $30 million a year, right? Like, so that know if the team has decided, yes, we're just trading this guy. Like Miami had with Jalen Ramsey. Like, there's no way Miami wasn't letting anybody talk to Jalen Ramsey this offseason. But if bringing the player back is still plausible, yeah, a team could decide, yeah, maybe this makes him easier to trade, but it also makes him a lot harder to keep. And we're kind of more on that side of the fence than the other.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Good stuff. Appreciate the question, Chuck. Hopefully that answered all the ins and outs that you were looking for, the process. But good stuff, Alan. Do another one of these tomorrow. But until then, tell the people they can find you.
Hey, Saunders _PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now. Sites account SteelersNow.com. Go there, read the words so I can get paid. Sign up for SN Plus. You get the words with no ads, which, trust me, is way better. And you also get access to all the best stuff from me, DB, the rest of the Steelers Now team. And also my just undying love and gratitude and appreciation and bragging rights about supporting local journalism. And, all that good stuff. We did still no new orders. We got to get some new ones here in the month of August. We got to get that live stream up. That's the one that always gets it going. So me, you, and DB are going to have to get together maybe next week with that.
Well, we asked for input from the audience when they would like it to be.
Yeah, I don't think we got any.
And I don't know that a lot of people. So let us know if you are an SN Plus subscriber and you got a date in mind that you're like, hey, this is when it should be because of whatever that reason might be. If you want it to be following the preseason games to kind of wrap up everything, let us know. Let us know your thoughts on when you feel like it should be. But it's totally free to like, subscribe, hit that notification button here on the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel has been growing like crazy lately, and we appreciate everybody here that's been a part of that and making that happen. We are up 420 YouTube subscribers in the last month. So wow. Good number to be at, which makes us at 16,400. And we just were talking about the pivot. So it's not an obscure one, but I'm going to go with Ryan Clark just because we are at 25 and just talked about the pivot.
I feel like we get this one all the time.
Yeah, and I've probably used it before.
Yeah. Eric Rowe off the couch into the game. E-Row, go with that one. We've talked about them. I feel like we've talked about this one a lot. Freddie McAfee back in the 90s, running back, special teams captain, one of my dudes.
It didn't happen that long ago because Artie Burns suffered that torn ACL. And
Yeah. And I feel like there's some more, too, that we've talked about. Desmond King was 25 for one game. Akella Witherspoon was 25. Yeah. So there's been a bunch of them.
Yep. Absolutely. And if you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from, be sure to 5-star review and subscribe over there. We did get a couple of new ones last week, but I read those, still waiting on another one. So be sure to do that for us. Leave questions in there as well, whatever you want to do. And remember, as nice as the message is, That'll get you on the show. So compliment us first, then leave your question. Search through his afternoon drive. Do the same thing on TikTok, and you'll find me everywhere. Zachary Smith, PGH, Round Saunders, and myself. Thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers afternoon drive.